Good morning, and another good morning to you. Welcome to another edition of the Kitchings Table. We're here to bring you our Christmas edition today because this is Christmas week, and we certainly want to make sure that you are enjoying the Christmas holiday, but at the same time, we want to make sure that you are preparing for Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. I know food is always a part of Christmas, just like Thanksgiving, but nothing like celebrating Christmas for the children. I'm Earl Kitchings, the host of the Kitchings Table, and we'd like to welcome you again. We're glad to be here on Awesome Radio, WBIS 106.9 FM, Roku TV, GPAC TV, Facebook Live, Facebook TV, you name it, all the platforms are covered. But we're here on Awesome Radio. But Santa decided to send one of his special people to us today. Yes, indeed. Santa sent us someone who has started out with us on this show and has had to take some other challenges and changes in her life, but she's always been with us. But she decided that she wanted Santa to send her to us today, and here she is, Ron Lean Kennedy, live, living, and breathing. Beautiful. Welcome to the show this morning.
Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here. What do you have for us for the kitchen table today, Mr. Kitchens?
Well, Ron Lean, you know, we are in that Christmas season, and I was working to think of what would be a good topic. And of course, sometimes things get changed at the last minute. So the topic I was going to talk about, I'm going to have to hold it for the next time because on yesterday, a major historical story dropped in Washington, D.C. And it is of major consequence because in the history of this country, we have never had such focus on the poor behavior, if you will, of a former president or a president while in office. And after about 18 months, the January 6th committee took a unanimous vote to recommend to the Department of Justice four charges, four felony charges. And let me make sure I'm clear when I say felony charges, because when you get a felony charge by the federal government, you must serve every second. There is no probation. There's no going back and appealing it, trying to reduce the sentence. Once you are done, you must serve every second. So a felony charge is one thing, but to get four of them, four felony charges. Now, it will be left up to the Department of Justice to follow up and pursue the ones they feel, I guess, they can get the best convictions for. But just the fact that a former president is going to be charged with four felonies. Think about that now. I mean, this country is over 200 years old. No president in the history of this country. One time impeachment, okay, we've had that happen a couple of times, but add on to the fact that this former president was impeached twice in a 4-year term, twice. Now you're about to be brought up on felony charges. Where in the history books of American government will you ever see this in the past? Not saying it won't happen in the future, but right now, for those of us who have lived to see this day and time, man, I thought seeing Barack Obama elected was a milestone that many of us never thought would ever happen during their lifetimes. But now to see a former president, twice impeached, be brought up or at least be recommended for four felony charges that he committed. And it could be worse because the fact that there are two states, and I even think the District of Columbia is in on uh, prosecuting him, but Georgia and New York are prosecuting him, and now you add this on. So this is bigger than a four-layer cake or a two-layer cake. I mean, it is just layered on top of layer. So that's what we're going to delve into today. So what do you think about that?
Listen, I still remember when the events were unfolding on that dreaded day. And after I thought about it, it was like I had no words. Honestly, I never knew, I've read about American history, but to be dealing with the history books that are going to be unfolding from that time of January 6th, the lives that were lost. I think I was reading that 7 lives were lost totally
Mm-hmm.
behind that. And you can't bring those people back. They're not here celebrating with their families.
Right.
And to see how things has been carried on since that time and not taking responsibility, it made me realize how important accountability really is.
Mm-hmm.
And why it is so important to get the rightful justice that these families deserve behind their lost loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
So my my take on that is yes, let the convictions come forth. Let the time start being served. No more playing politics. This is not the time for that. This is the time for justice to be just what it's supposed to be, justice. It needs to be carried out. There's there shouldn't be any mistakes behind what is to take place, and it shouldn't be downplayed either.
Well, I don't think it's going to be downplayed simply because the January 6th committee has been in the public light for 18 months. My concern has always been this: as many times as I've heard them profess, whether it's congressional members or other people of political background or criminal backgrounds, when they make the statement, no one is above the law. No one. When the Attorney General of the United States of America says to this country that no one is above the law, you then put things in motion by saying we must prosecute the criminal, whether it's the former president or not, because if you don't prosecute and send, well, they're going to probably play this two different ways. They'll make the recommendations, they'll send out the charges, and maybe nothing comes out of it. That's going to be the first tragedy if he gets charged, prosecuted, and he does not get any time. If he doesn't get any time, to me, that says to this country that Donald J. Trump is above the law.
Mhm.
And they can't clean it up. They can't whitewash it. They can't do anything to it other than say, well, we prosecuted him. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You prosecute a lot of people. You prosecuted a lot of innocent people who have spent time in prison for things they did not do. Many people have gone to prison for things they did not do. Serve time. If you don't send this man to prison, it's basically sends the message, and he'll play it. I'm above the law. He won't say it directly like that, but he said that when he was running for president, that he could stand on Madison Avenue in the heart of New York financial district and shoot somebody and nothing will happen to him. That's the way he'll play it. So if they're going to recommend it, because Congress can't arrest him or prosecute him, but they're making the recommendation strongly, and based on the four things they've already recommended, they've added two more things to the four they've already recommended. So now it's going to be six things that they're recommending to the Department of Justice. And let's remember that the Republican Party did not want Merrick Garland to be a Supreme Court judge when Barack Obama was in place. Now he's the Attorney General. Now I know he's probably one of those guys like, well, it's not a tit for tat. You don't say it publicly, but the actions.
Mm-hmm.
So if he prosecutes to the fullest extent, then can this man survive? Because, for him to now have this new unique way of raising money, this guy is a mastermind when it comes to trying to get in people's pockets. That much we do know about Donald Trump. He is good at getting into your pockets however he needs to. So now you come out with these trading cards specifically about Donald Trump. I've got these trading cards to chronicle my life and all the great things I've done in my life and blah, 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 blah. And, the first one they put up on TV was him in like a Superman costume, with the cape being the American flag, and, him having all these muscles. So now you want everybody to believe that you're Superman. So you're asking $99. I thought it was $99 per card, but I guess it's $99 per set. So if it's 12 cards, okay. And let's do the math real quick. 80 million people voted for him for president. 80 million. If 1 million people buy a set of cards, that's $100 million. So just do the numbers. So, and that's what it's all about, because he has not said anything about what he's going to do if he becomes president again. And his clone out of the state of Florida, we know him well, clone DeSantis, is in a strong, head-to-head matchup with him. So it's going to be interesting. However, as the co-chair of the January 6th committee said yesterday, Congresswoman Cheney said, if he is prosecuted and convicted, he can never, underline never, capital letters never, never run for a federal or a state office ever again in his life. But if you send him to prison, that's where he's going to remain until he's an old man. And his health, I don't think, mentally nor physically, I don't think he'll make it. I think his mental health, it'll just take a toll on him so bad that you look at him today, and let's look at him 2 to 3 years from now, and you can just see that his health will just decline. But going back to what we're talking about today, the Christmas packages that Santa brought on yesterday, he brought 4 of them plus 2. I'm going to talk about the 4. I'm not going to worry about the other 2 because they're similar in content. But you have a former president, twice impeached. That should have been enough. That should have been enough. And had the Senate been what the Senate is today, he probably would have gotten prosecuted after the second one. Maybe not the first one, but after the second one. But what the January 6th committee unanimously voted for on yesterday were these recommendations. And we'll talk about them one by one. The first one is obstruction of an official proceeding. Obstruction of an official proceeding. That was what he tried to get Vice President Mike Pence to do. Well, we're going to see if Mike Pence is strong enough to make something happen. Okay, Mike didn't do it, and so you sent your goons after Mike, and he had to, find safety and protection because you were trying to do some things to Mike. That's number one. Number two, conspire to defraud the United States government. Now, defrauding people is one thing, but now you're defrauding the entire government. That's pretty strong. Second is to conspire to make false statements. And we all know that when you go to court, when you tell a false statement, you get convicted right away. Now, a false statement in court, unless there's some leniency there, you get convicted. But I think the fourth and final one is the one that really carries the most weight of the four, and that's the charge of insurrection. Mm-hmm. To use a means to overthrow the United States government. He took an oath to defend the Constitution from foreign and domestic foes. Little did we know he would be the foe that we needed to defend the Constitution from. So when he put in motion on January 6th at the ellipse and told those Americans who believe in him that we're going to walk down to the Capitol and I'm going to be with you, that for those of us who are pretty intelligent, we knew when he said, I'm going to be with you, we knew that was a lie right then. He wasn't walking nowhere, and he knew it. But when you've told 20,000 plus lies and you still believe a man, shame on you. So those are the four charges. And let's just kind of delve into each one of those and talk about them, because they all carry time, and I'm sure the time for each one of them is different. But if you pile them all up together, they create a large amount of time. So obstruction of official proceeding, which was trying to obstruct them during the vote count to say that President Biden had won the election. That's the first one, and that's where he wanted the vice president to not count the votes. That's the first thing. So, what are your thoughts on that?
All the reports that I had been reading up until this time, remember when he accused the Hillary Clinton administration of stealing votes when he thought that he had lost the election then?
Yeah, he does a lot of accusations now. He's
Yes,
good for that.
yes. And then to turn around and cause the same havoc again, deliberately, knowing that the elections had been carefully followed. All the reports came back. That's what I read. All the reports came back that there was no evidence of fraud. There wasn't any evidence of fraud. Let's get that. And yet he was determined any way possible that he was going to get get those votes that he did not earn.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the meantime, lives are lost because of he was spearheaded what took place, that insurrection, and He said he was going to be with them. One of my professors, who's deceased now, always said, "Take me with you cognitively," that is.
Mm-hmm.
So he was with them cognitively, sitting in his
But
box office, right?
Ronnie, he said, "I'm going to walk down
Walking
there
with them,
with you.
right?
I'm going to
Cognitive,
go with you."
right? He did not mention cognitively,
No,
but
no,
that's what
he said, "I'm going with you guys."
he's going with them, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So,
So I wondered what were going through the minds of his supporters. And when you talk about 80 million people, and still to this day, that number is still great, for him to support him. And I'm just wondering what kind of mindset you would have to be in to still support something that massive for a country that you say you love.
well, in clinical terms, I think the word would be delusional.
Mhm.
In societal terms, what I've been saying for a few years, when I recognized that this many people were believing in him, was that they drank all the Kool-Aid.
Yes.
And when I say drank all the Kool-Aid, I mean they drank all the Kool-Aid because they believe and hang on what he says to them with no reservation. So when you talked about Hillary Clinton, something popped up in my mind real quick, and I'm gonna toss it out because I remember when he was running for president, and he would have his campaign speeches and have his rallies, and he would get the people all worked up. He used to say three things about Hillary Clinton. And on December 20th, 2022, the karma and the 360 degrees of what he said, we now can use for him. Remember when he used to always say, "Lock her up," and the
Yes.
people would say, "Lock her up, lock her up." Well, Donald, lock him up.
Yes. And
Lock
throw away the key.
okay, lock him up.
Throw away the key.
Okay. You were so adamant about something about what Hillary did, and all the emails that okay, those were emails, but insurrection?
Yes.
Insurrection, sir? Two-time being impeached,
Yes.
sir? Uh lock him up.
Yes. And he
Now,
is truly going on the number line, that's for sure. When you talked about those numbers, two impeachments, four felony charges from the committee, now has risen to six,
mm-hmm.
and seven lives lost that you can't bring those lives back to resume whatever role that they were supposed to resume in their family. So everything is just escalating from one to another, to another, to another. And as you say, lock him up.
It's so interesting that we're at this point now for a man who was just so engaged with that slogan and got people so fired up. Lock her up, as if she was the worst person in the world, that she had committed some egregious criminal acts that is just, oh my God, I can't believe anybody. And you were just talking about some emails and some other things, but now we're talking about insurrection.
Yes.
No one, as the political analyst and the news analyst said, this has never been done. No one has ever been charged with insurrection against the United States government. And we've gone through some things in this country that, hey man, even during the Civil War, I mean, that was a war that was fought over certain things, but even after it was over, I don't ever recall anyone saying there was an insurrection. I mean, I know some people were mad and upset that you know, as we say in football terminology or sports terminology, well, you didn't win the big one.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have a man, a very egotistical man, a very a man that if you talk to psychologists and psychiatrists, they will tell you about all his fallacies, what makes him tick the way he does, why he has all these things that make him so negative, why you know, he's a case in himself of, I mean, so you want to win so bad, and that's what's going on a lot of times with the Republicans right now, when they're talking about changing the lines for districts for voting. You want to win so bad. You want to win so bad, and this is what has been a thought to me also. How do you teach your children fair play when you want to cheat so bad to win? Because if someone cheated your child, you would tell your child they cheated you. That wasn't fair. But yet people are talking about the fact that this man said he was cheated. And my dad used to always say, "Well, son, don't use that word. That's a very strong word to say. Someone cheated. That is blatant." So he wants to win so bad. He wants the power. And that's what it is. It wants that power. I think he got power struck when he became the president. He was already power struck just being Donald Trump, Trump name everywhere. But man, when you got to be as they say, the king,
Mm-hmm.
you're all the way at the top. You're the most powerfulest man in the entire world. I think that went through his head. I'm thinking it went through his head like a lightning bolt and fried it up real good. And now he's really, man, you can't tell him anything. So you got this first charge of obstruction of official proceeding. You wanted them to not count the votes. You made comments and you issued some things and you made that the first thing. This is the Kitchings Table on Awesome Radio, WBISLP, 106.9 FM, Roku, GPAC, Facebook, all streaming live TV. So catch us. And we'd like to thank staff and management at Awesome Radio for giving us this opportunity to bring you another edition of the Kitchings Table. And we're calling this our Christmas edition. So we're talking about the Christmas gifts that Congress brought on yesterday to the American people. 4 recommendations that the former president be charged, felony charges, for all he had to do with the January 6th insurrection and things leading up to it. The second thing on the list, Ronleen, was conspiracy to defraud the United States government. And as they indicated, a lot of times when we think about defrauding someone, we think about it from a monetary standpoint, but they're saying it's not monetary. It operates off of more than just strictly a monetary position. He tried to defraud the country out of legal things. And that's the second charge that they brought up, was defrauding the government. And again, all the charges are pertaining to the United States government, which is the people of the United States. Man, you tried to defraud. I mean, it was one thing when you defrauded people about Trump University. I mean, okay, you got those people real good. And it's another thing when you defraud people who are working for you out of their money. You don't want to pay them, so you find a way to get around that. But this defraud the government. It's too many eyes on you, man. That it's just unbelievable. I mean, it's so you want to defraud the government, okay? And then one judge told him, as they say, release his tax returns, release them, let everybody see what's up. So the state of New York is after you, man. They pressing to get you, but now Congress has said lock him up.
Mhm.
So defrauding the government, Ronleen, really?
Yes. You know, it's really sad of the man hours that were put into all of that whole scenario of one thing right after the other. I mean, it just never let up. So not only was the defrauding of the government behind the voting, but the man hours that went into recounting every vote,
Mm-hmm.
the overtime hours that went
Yeah,
into that,
yeah.
and then, as you said, the people who was, that suffered through that whole scenario.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And, we've already experienced government shutdowns, over a period of years. But for it to come to this, it's really disgraceful. And it makes me wonder, all of the people that have come before us, what are they thinking? Our older Americans. I remember when this was unfolding, I asked you, what is your mother saying about all of this?
Well,
So,
when you
share any light on how she felt? I know, remember the interview we did in Palaca?
mm-hmm.
Remember how um, the veteran felt about that?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it causes a lot of emotions to surface. And when you talk about seniors who, let's just say 80 plus, a lot of seniors 80 plus truly believe in Donald Trump. And at that age of life, let me see if I can put it in one phrase it one way. The great comedian Richard Pryor, in one of his comical sketches, made the comment, "You don't get to be old being no fool. You don't get to be old being no fool." So at 80 years of plus age, for those people to truly believe in a Donald Trump and the things he said and done, it almost kind of be like, well, are y'all that foolish? At 80 plus years of age, are you that foolish to believe a man who has said some of the things he's said, done some of the things he's done, hurt this country the way he's done? You believe him? You believe in that guy? And now to see where a lot of his business, the businesses, the Trump organization has come under major scrutiny. You sent his CFO to jail. You're slowly dismantling that business model. So when you think about when Bernie Madoff did what he did with the Ponzi scheme, this what Donald Trump has done over the years is, man, Bernie Madoff, that was nothing, man. What you did, that was nothing. What this guy has done over time with his businesses, and right now what he's doing again, making an effort to scam people for some money to have money to pay off these lawyers. Because I'm like, how can a lawyer want to defend a guy like this knowing that you might not get paid. So it is, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that many seniors think that this guy is legitimate, honest, credible, has integrity. He doesn't, the only thing that he has is his total and unequivocal belief in himself and what is best for him. So I don't think that when you ask the seniors, depending on who you ask, because I know they've gone to senior citizen communities in Florida. You know, we have many of them that are basically trailer parks. They've gone to these communities and talked to these people at least 70 plus years of age, and they're all in with him. And I'm like, where's again, the integrity? Because if you won't let your children lie to you, but you let the former president lie to you, how do you how do you how do you
Justify.
separate that? How
Yes.
do you
How do
do that?
you justify that?
You justify it?
You can't.
You sure? Because it looks to me like they try to justify it all the time.
Well, yes, 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 but it doesn't make it right.
Well, it doesn't, but they're his backers. I mean, when you think about, and it's not just the former president who's being charged, it's him and his associates.
Right.
Former attorney is being charged. His former attorney, private attorney, is being charged. I mean, it's a lot of other people getting caught up and swept up in this, and it's like, well, I guarantee you this: you'll go to prison sooner than he'll go to prison. He'll be the last one, but you might be one of the first ones. You might be in that first group to go. On that first bus, everybody locked down, chained up. In those nice, you know, um, jumpsuits or two-piece scrub suits with the beautiful bracelets on, those nice, beautiful shiny silver bracelet, and you know the you know the chains. You know,
Right. The reinforcement.
yeah, to reinforce that. So they'll go before Trump will go, and the more pressure they put on them, you should. Is there anything else? You know how they do. Is there anything else you want to tell us?
Hmm.
Uh, yes. Let me just tell you this because I really don't want to. Yeah, well, you're going, but okay, you might can help yourself and shorten that time, but you're going. So, all his associates and everybody else who believed in him and didn't jump off the ship, and I was looking at something on the news last night. They were giving a clip of the former attorney general and William Barr. He jumped off the boat just in time. He jumped off just in time because he saw it coming. He said, "Man, let me get up out of here because this thing is coming downhill, and I don't want to get caught up in it." And he jumped off just in time.
Yeah.
So, defrauding the government, that's not a good thing. And then the third one, to conspire to make false statements, and some of that has to do with those documents down in Mar-a-Lago. And I always felt that, yeah, you found them in Mar-a-Lago, but you didn't go to his other properties because hey, he probably put some a little bit over here, a little bit over there. Man, go to all the
All
golf
his.
course. Go to the golf course in New Jersey, wherever. Go there. I mean, this guy is so paranoid probably at times that he's moved stuff around. But you know, you told us, well, that's all the documents, and then somebody calls it, well, that's not all. They got them in another room, and then you go back and find boxes and boxes and boxes of documents. And the question becomes, well, sir, what were you going to do with all the documents? I thought they were mine. But what were you going to do with them? Okay, so if they were yours, what's your plans? What are the plans to do with these documents? Are you gonna sell them? You gonna put them in your library? I mean, but sir, the documents sir, if you don't really know, they don't belong to you. They belong to the government. So now you make false statements about what you have and don't have. So that's the third one. False statements. Lying, lying under oath is a felony.
Yes.
And
Yes. The big word perjury does come to mind.
oh, perjury. He
Yes.
perjured himself. I mean,
He took that oath.
Ronline, it's funny for a person that's told over 20,000 lies. Anytime he says something that may be of some substantial content and context and subject matter, you got to know that he's going to lie. I mean, 20,000 plus lies as the president. You know he's going to lie. Why? Soon as he says something, you're like, sir, is that the truth? And you know he's going to lie about that. Yeah, that's the truth. No, sir, no. So, he makes it easy. And I used to tell a coworker, I said, let him keep talking. The more he talks, the more he's going to incriminate himself.
Isn't that the truth?
You know, his ego just won't get out the way.
Mm-hmm.
Can we please send a request back to the University of Pennsylvania, get that transcript so we can really see what that is? I know y'all don't want us to know what it is. I already got an idea that is not too favorable. I mean, like, you graduated with all D's. I mean, it's got to be just that bad, because if it was good, you wouldn't care if they saw it or not. I don't care.
That is correct. That is right.
I mean, my transcript, your transcript right now, hey man, okay. And I'll tell you right now, yeah, you'll find a D on there and you'll find an F on there. I'm gonna tell you that right now. However, a F gets you no credit, so it means nothing. You still got to make up for that credit time. So you got to replace that F with a class where you got credit.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. But at the end of the day, when they tally it all up, do you have, when I was in college, you had to have 190 credit hours, to graduate. And was it 190 hours? Yeah. It's You get a credit, but you had to have so many hours. So when you finish, if you got all the hours and you got all the grades and everything lines up, you get your diploma, you get your degree. That's just that simple. And yeah, okay, man. So yeah, you got a degree, you got all D's. Cause I mean, even if I think a person that's got all C's on their transcript, they're not gonna be afraid to show that their transcript is all C's. But man, once you go below the C, ooh,
Mm-hmm. I'm going to my grave with this one.
yeah. Sir, did you pay attention when you went to class?
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to class?
Mm-hmm.
And you're supposed to be a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, and I've yet to notice how the University of Pennsylvania claims him as one of their graduates. I don't see them waving that banner like, hey, former president was a graduate of our college. I've yet to see them do that. So when you make false statements, it's almost like, well, how long you been making false statements, sir? How far back does this go?
Oh, they can the person that's doing the interrogation. They can do that. They know how to ask, and they know how to circle back.
Yeah. You come back to a different question. So what you're saying is that you never told a false statement, sir, ever? Okay. What about when you said this? What about when you said this? Was that false? So, but that was the third charge. And then finally, as we get ready to wind things down today, the biggest felony of all the charges, if they throw the other three out and make him pay for this one and make him pay heavily, minimum of 10 years. 10 years. Insurrection. You incited an insurrection on the Capitol building where all government laws take place, you made people go down there and act out of character beyond belief, storm the Capitol to do what? To stop them from counting the votes. And in listening to Nancy Pelosi's daughter, who's a documentary film uh, producer, she described how bad they tore up the Capitol building in ways that I had not heard of before. I know they had done some things, but to think that citizens of this country would storm that building and desecrate it the way they did. How do you tell your children? How do you explain that to your children, your grandchildren? Because if they ask you, well, what did you do? Or they go to visit you like these people who are going to prison now, what did you do? I mean, but the insurrection, you wanted to win that bad. It is costing lives, like you said, man hours. Um, the people who had to clean up the Capitol building and get it back in order. So many things, so many negatives that came out of this one particular incident that all started with a president creating the energy synergy, managing all of this. Like they had the hotel across the street where they were doing the planning. You want to win that bad
Mm-hmm.
that you will go to these levels to win and to make to see how loyal people are to you and the people believe in what's going on. Because had some other Republican won the been the president, would we had seen an insurrection? I doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
So you wanted to hang the vice president of the United States. That's how bad you want to win, man. I mean, is that how bad he is? He wants to win at all costs.
At all costs, yes. And that's the most one of the most saddest things about that. And now that I think about it, Mr. Kitchens, did he at least apologize to those families whose lives were lost?
What did you say? You said apologize?
Yes, I know he wasn't accountable. I know that. But did he at least do something where those families were concerned, who had to bury their loved ones behind his folly?
Ronlene, the word apology and apologize are not in his vocabulary.
Okay. And he
That word
still
is not there.
and he still have millions of voters that want to, if he say, I'm running for office in the next election, they will be there to support him.
They will, because the word apology and apologize, based on his mentor who mentored him, excuse me, that word is a word of weakness. And he was told to never, ever show weakness. So for him to apologize for something he did that was not right or incorrect, no, that word is not in his vocabulary. It is not in his heart. Compassion is not in his heart. Those things are not a part of his DNA. So no, he wasn't and isn't ever going to apologize. So you can mark that off. That's not happening. And guess what, Ronleen? If he does, you know what I'm gonna say? That's a
He
lie.
didn't mean
That's a
it.
lie. That's a lie. He don't mean it. That's a lie.
He didn't mean it.
No, he doesn't mean it. He doesn't mean it. So I mean, because he's never said it. He's never said it, and he's not going to say it. So I'm not going to. If he said it tomorrow, I'd be like, man, stop. There you go. What line number is that? Golly, have we reached 30,000 yet? Man, 30,000 lies, man. So no. But the insurrection piece, if they can get the DOJ, Department of Justice, to pursue that vehemently, vigorously, with everything they got in their arsenal, as they say. I mean, load it up and just boom, take the real big shot at it. And my thing has been, I don't need you to send him to prison on all the charges. Just one good one will do for me. If you send him on that one and it carries 7 to 10 years, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. So we'll see what happens. But that was the Christmas package that Santa Claus brought yesterday via the U.S. Congressional Committee. That hey, here are 4 charges plus 2 more we found that we're recommending to the Department of Justice, Attorney General Merrick Garland, to proceed with going after the former president. And we'll see what happens, because they were worried that they weren't going to be able to get this in before Congress switched over. So now they've done that. It's not in Congress's hand anymore. It goes to the DOJ, and they can't stop the DOJ. And that's what's going to happen. So we'll see.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? This is the Kitchings Table. I'm your host, Earl Kitchings. Joining me today, they put up that special guest. She'll never be a special guest to me. But Ron Lee Kennedy joined us today for our Christmas show. The 4 packages that were delivered to Congress by Santa Claus. The 4 things that they're recommending the former president to be basically convicted of. So, Ron Lee, thank you so very much for being here today. It's been a joy. I hope you can join us again at some point in time, because it definitely makes for interesting conversation when you have someone else to talk to you.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
Very good. So until the Tuesday after Christmas, Earl Kitchings with the Kitchings Table again here on Awesome Radio 106.9 FM, saying have a great day. Merry Christmas. As always, do something good for somebody else. Until next week, we're saying bye-bye.
Bye.